Hey guys, welcome back. It's the Kortex Media Podcast here, where we navigate the fast-paced world of the automotive and more. Today I have a very special guest, Storm Sondors. Storm is a visionary entrepreneur and designer who has made a significant contributions to the electric transportation industry. He is best known as the founder of Sondors, a company that has revolutionized the electric bike market with innovative, affordable, and stylish products. It's great to have you on as first guest here, Storm.
Well, thanks so much, Corson. So, wow, that's a pretty good intro. I like it. So,
Awesome.
yeah, I think I never kind of reflect to what I've done, but I don't know if you're aware that in 2015 there was no e-bike market in US, right? I don't know about Canada. And that original $400-500 e-bike. Did you see our Indiegogo campaign?
Yeah, I did see. I've
Yeah,
I've I've done a little research on you, so I know a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah,
of
yeah.
background.
But just think about this right now, right? It's like I will never forget. I'm in San Francisco with my fat tire, $500 e-bike, and I'm in an elevator, and people laughing at my fat tire bike, how inefficient it is, and how it needs battery life because of the friction and all this other stuff. And right now, like 80% bikes produced are fat tires.
And that was one of the biggest contributors to your company as well, was the Fat Tire bike. That's still your best seller, is it not?
Well, you know what? Not over the years. It has definitely, yes. You know what? I would say that in a long run, it's always was a bestseller. But right now, we're really reshaping company. So my focus is going to be slightly different for the next couple years. Simply because of the fact that e-bike market is so saturated right now, that I need to rethink what the next vision is for the company, because I'm not good at just churning out, kind of quarterly sales reports. You know what I mean? I like more on a visionary side, as you mentioned. You know what I mean? Setting trends versus that's where I'm more interested in, than just running a basic e-bike company.
Yeah, no, definitely. Kind of like with what you did with the MetaCycle. Like it was something new and totally different that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. MetaCycle is still a very interesting. We can touch that later as well, I think, in our conversation, since we certainly will share this with a lot of people who follow me.
Awesome. I just want you to go back and speak a little bit about the beginning of Saunders and kind of what your inspiration was around it.
Yeah, so that was a year when I tore my meniscus, and I'm a surfer. And I was on crutches for almost entire year, so before they could proceed with surgery. And I saw an e-bike. It wasn't a fat tire. I saw an e-bike in Malibu, and e-bikes caught my attention because I was just like, I've always been into bicycles, but this one was really cool. And then I started to look at what the costs are to buy e-bike, or what they were selling for. And at that time, it was 3, 4, 5,000 bucks for a basic e-bike. And that my background being in a space of creativity and innovation, I was like, I want to make a $500 e-bike, because my background's in manufacturing and design. I spent countless years in China, living and working on manufacturing side. So, uh, uh, and I just, I came up with this, and crowdfunding was just coming around early on. And I was like, okay, I have a platform. Why just not put it on and test, right? We did the campaign, and I came back like 2 hours later from surf, and there was like $2 million worth of sales.
No way.
Yeah,
Actually?
yeah.
Holy cow, that's
So,
crazy.
and that was crazy. That's how Saunders was born. It was born in definitely more shock, bunch of controversy, because of course no one has done an e-bike at that point for 500 bucks. You know what I
Yeah, it
mean?
was
So
bang for your buck, that's for sure. And that
yeah,
was
and it was such a controversy, right? Like it was like from like competitors threatening to send FBI to my house,
no way.
literally. I forgot which one was this company, to being sued before I even like one bike I launched, it was like what was that? Oh, that was named because originally we was gonna do Storm, but I think like one of these other bike pretentious bike companies at that time had a bike coming out Storm, and I'm literally with my lawyer on a call with them, and it's like, and I just go like, what do you want me to name the company? And then one of their lawyers goes, what's your last name? Right? I said Saunders. Name it Saunders. That's how it
There
was
you
born.
go.
I
That's
never
awesome.
like I've never been in like everything just kind of falls in place. You know what I mean? So, but that it was originally supposed to be Storm, ended up being Saunders.
That's awesome. I think Saunders fits better, honestly.
Me too.
Especially
No, me too. I mean, listen, every time I'm going to take a wrong path, I get redirected.
let's go back and talk about the $2 million on the first bike drop. So what did you market anything? You said you had a little bit of a background, like
Yeah,
a
no,
little
I
bit of an
have a
audience.
significant background. I've been working in product development since like early. It's always been my passion. Product development doesn't matter, or uh, across various lines. From flying toys to Nike soles to like different stuff, right? So always been in a creative field. I also worked for. I did a lot of Happy Meal programs for McDonald's back in the day, and that was quite exciting as well. So, like I said, I really started early because I just saw that I had a talent for it. So, and going back to the Indiegogo campaign, I really need to go back into memory because it was so much fun. I want to write a book. You know what I mean? That whole
That's
thing deserves a book.
that's
So
a great idea.
yeah, that campaign definitely deserves a book or TV or movie. So asking you asked me about marketing. So we did we hired like a agency early on for a marketing campaign. I forgot the name of theirs right now, but it was we had support. You know what I mean? So to get it done. So there were some ad spends, but nothing significant, right, compared to the size of the campaign. And then it was first day 2 million, first couple hours, and then after that, I think the total campaign was like 8 million bucks, right?
No
Is that
way.
what it looks like? Yeah, that so we finished like in 60 days with like $8 million.
That's amazing. You don't
Yeah.
hear that. That's unreal.
What you know what? It's unreal. It was just the right timing for e-bikes to explode, and it needed a well-priced product, because anytime you enter this is the same thing we're dealing with electric cars, right? It's the same thing, right? Why one company's performing and another one is struggling, even they make better cars, right? So it's early on when you're in this early stages, adopting a new technology. People are not going to spend thousands of bucks. They want a really good value, right? So that it's no brainer for them to say, I'm going to try it,
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, our first demo day, they were about like maybe 200 people showed up, and we had like a wristbands for time and everything like that. And the first guy who showed up for a test ride for the fat tire bike for Indiegogo campaign got on a bike and whispered in my ear that he has never ridden bicycles. so
No way.
so yeah, and I was like, okay, that's really cool. Whatever we're doing, it's working, because it makes you like feel like you can do something you realistically can't, right? So we just ask him to wait later and like till everyone else is done and work with them separately.
That's awesome. And you're pulling a whole different audience, right? Like there's elders that haven't ridden bikes in forever, and you give them the opportunity to have an electric bike that they can actually get out, get some fresh air, and go for a tour around the town. It was great. It was perfect timing.
Yeah, that's what I want to say. It was timing, and it was also it also comes back to having a bold design, right? Which just really stood out there. And it was yellow color, right? Is, I don't know if you know, but in a bicycle world, that's like the least sold, most hated color, right?
Really?
So, and yeah, that's what I was like. I always do everything opposite what like people say, right? So, and I was like, I like it. If you don't like it, or you have something against yellow, no. And it's probably the most sold e-bike color still to this day.
That's all. I think it matches. Looks good.
Yeah.
So speaking of design, I just want you to tell us a little bit more about your design, your balance and style, and functionality in your product. Like what made it different than those $5,000 e-bikes that you could sell for $500?
So I set up the whole new manufacturing process as well. So, it was in the past, it was more like a individually assembled where we did it on a production line, which right now is everyone uses, right?
Hmm.
So, because e-bikes used to be kind of like a single base, take your time. So it's just every other product, right? You just look at what's essential and go from that aspect to design, right? And my thing's always with electric bikes was, there's controller, there's battery, there's motor. As long as we have that in a compact place where we can really quickly access and do any kind of repairs required, because the part of the innovation was what we did that we did direct to consumer business model, right? So we had no dealers. So not only we're now selling an e-bikes, which have a very 99% of our audience have never ridden an e-bike, right? But we're selling also to them directly with an idea that they need to do a final assembly and learn how to operate based on our videos, right? So, and then give them like 7 tools so they always can be repaired. So it was basically plug and play. I always like Legos, and it was just a Lego concept, plug and play, where you can rip out your controller quickly, or take your throttle off really quick, and we'll send you a new part.
No,
So
that's
I think that was the critical mass. What, uh, oh God, and dude, so many people were fighting me for so long. How are you going to do it? It's never been done. No, listen. The less you listen to people, the better off you are.
yeah, and you made a simple product that's easy for the consumer to repair and fix if they had to. Like it was a perfect product. And
It was truly still is actually. I just saw it other day. One bike still on. It's amazing.
so can you speak a little bit more about the new bike designs that you've came out with and kind of what's changed since the beginning, since the original bike?
So right now what I'm really working on is, let me, I have some kind of airplane race going on here,
No
right
way.
on top. Let me
Oh
close my
no.
sunroof. Yeah, yeah. 1 second.
Yeah, no, all good.
Uh, I think we have a Red Bull racing team flying around today. So right now on Saunders, we're going to launch a new bike, like I think next week, but we're really not talking about it yet. So anyone who goes to like Saunders.com next week will see a teaser. So I think what's really changing is where I'm more interested in e-bikes, um, which are more less of a traditional bicycle experience, more of a kind of experience which you can only do if you use e-bike, right? So the geometry is not necessarily the best, right? So but the idea is that, look, you can pedal or you can throttle or you can do both, right? But let's separate that traditional bicycle design with actually electric platform, what allows you to do more of a unique experiences, which is maybe bicycle, maybe not. You know what I mean? Whatever you
You
identify.
don't even know.
Yeah, you don't even know. You know what I mean? So I think that is a better place. You know what I mean? That is more where people are more engaged and willing to say, I'm going to try this because let's be honest, when it comes to bicycles, I mean, how many of them are collecting dust in the garage most of the time? You know what I mean? So it just doesn't get people that excited.
No, definitely. Like I know me myself. I have a bicycle. I probably haven't been on it in 5 years, and I'm young still. Like I have no reason I can't go out on a bike.
Yeah.
Um, so I've noticed some stuff online that you faced some financial setbacks recently. Given your passion for the innovation and your history of pioneering affordable electric transportation, I'm curious, do you see Saunders or a similar venture as something you'll continue to invest and grow in? Like you said, you're releasing a new product in the next coming weeks. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
Is it something that's gonna make the customers happy and kind of secure your spot as in Saunders again and build your brand back up?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So I think the product innovation side was, it's always there. So I think what you're referring to is we built up the company. I ran it for 7 years, and I was like, okay, it's ready for a more significant, fast-paced growth. And I was very politely sold on IPO, right? So
Hmm.
so we went through the IPO process where I had to basically step away from the day-to-day operations after 7 years. Also, be in a very limited capacity on innovation side. Uh, um, and basically like people who are who are experts in this field would take company through the IPO process, and I just kind of sat around there and looked at it and tried to understand, really, am I not understanding something, or there's a possibility, right? But eventually, as we went through the process, and we failed to launch because of the NASDAQ, not because of not interest to invest in Saunders. They had a glitch. They admit it. We're like 1 minute from being live on NASDAQ, and it didn't happen. And after that, company went into a receivership, which I bid out a receivership, old IP, and also the Saunders trademark name, because reality is that for me it would be very difficult to function in EV space, because my last name is trademarked, or copyrighted. So, and it would be tough for me to sign anything or even start something new unless I got that IP back. So that's why I was very keen on it. And once I did, I think it was last April. I took some time to really rethink uh, uh, how to uh, how to come up with more new visionary products, because it was actually really good timing when all these things happened, because EV space was so unrealistically, the expectations were so unrealistic, right? But there was so much money in it,
Yeah.
where it just came to a crash and burn, right? And now when it's crashing and burning for everyone else, I already got out of that phase of misery, what I experienced, and I can like have a clean start and continue to do what I did for 7 years, extremely successful.
And just make your customers happy. I love that. I love that you're
Yeah.
continuing the journey with Saunders, because you've honestly made a great name for yourself. You've made a great bike, and I'm excited to see the bike next week. I've actually been checking out your website quite a bit.
Yeah.
I might look into getting one. You never know.
You never know. And I'll tell you, since you brought up the MetaCycle, so that was another thing, right? When we launched a MetaCycle, three months later, literally from a launch date, COVID hit, right? And everything got shut down. You know what I mean? And it was like a 2 years of really difficult time uh, to to work with supply chain, because everything was just so unpredictable. Like every day carpet would get kind of pulled underneath of you. And we still are in dispute over 500 units with MetaCycle, with our supplier. So that is the thing which I'm trying to resolve on behalf of Sondors Inc. Right. So, but the new product right now, which we're launching, is going to be under MetaCycle brands. So I'll send you a link next week. It's going to be under metacycle.com, and we're releasing an awesome next generation MetaCycle, which I did R&D for past 2 years, and we're doing right now. We're in a prototyping stage, and I think you're gonna really like it.
That's great. I'm excited to see it. Don't forget to send me that link. I'll
Yeah,
if you don't, I'll make sure I email you back and make
please
sure I
do.
get that
Yeah,
from you.
yeah, because we want to split like a e-bikes under Sondors and electric motorcycles requiring license under MetaCycle, so because those customers, interestingly, do not like necessarily intertwine, right? You would think like, oh, I ride an e-bike and I'm going to go into electric motorcycle, but it's not that way. We don't find that way that often.
The the I feel like the motorcycles want to stick with their gas, Harleys with the
Mm,
chopper noise, and I feel like
you
it's
know, yeah, no,
newer newer
yeah,
drivers coming into the
yeah,
motorcycle field would
yeah.
be more interested in an EV bike, I think. That's my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah. No, I agree with you. And also, it's also people who are actually more looking to replace their cars, at least here in California. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So, because I mean, we can ride literally every day, all year round, right? I mean, that's just not, the weather here is just unreal, in a good way. So that's, yeah, the electric motorcycle audience is going to be very interesting to see how that evolves. And I don't have a good I don't have a good understanding on it yet. So I think what I do when I don't have a good understanding, I just really build something unique, what I love doing and what I love writing, and then I put it out there. And there's always someone else as crazy as I am who wants it.
That's perfect. I love that business model.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Because otherwise, you need to follow the what industry does, and industry is run by a bunch of people who have never founded a company, right?
mm,
So they have a cool titles, but they have no background of like founding something and creating something from scratch. They're usually just put in a place to improve efficiencies and maybe some small innovation. But here it's different. It's from ground up.
yeah, no, definitely. So you were speaking about the industry and how it's been changing. There's been a lot going on in the industry the past few years. The market's booming with a 10% annual growth rate, driven by city commuters who dominate the market share, which is kind of what you spoke about in California, as well as lithium-ion batteries and motor innovation, providing enhanced torque and efficiency. Um, what major shifts are you seeing in your industry right now?
Uh, if you're talking about electric motorcycles right now,
Either or. We can touch on both because you're in
yeah,
both fields.
yeah. Although very quite different when it comes to obviously manufacturing process. So uh, uh, I would say e-bikes. Um, since I spend a lot of time at the factories, which are all based in China, right? I mean, that's where 100% of e-bikes come from. There are some people who do some final assembly outside of China, to avoid tariffs, but that's different.
Hmm.
Uh, but I would say in the e-bike space, it's a good time for me to get back into this space, because it's literally right now, uh, 10 years later since our campaign, right? People are still copying our bikes, right?
Hmm.
So there's nothing new. Like if you look on a road, there's nothing you will say, wow, this is like the next thing, right? So and I just find right now the lack of innovation drives prices down. And as the prices go down on e-bikes, it becomes a really low end commodity. So that means that none of these people have any funds to reinvest in innovation, right? They're just kind of doing race to the bottom. So so right now it's just a whole bunch of copycat production taking place and really beating on a pricing, because if you have exactly same model, just different brand name on it, right? Then it really there's no point to pay premium, because none of those brands are well known anyways. So I would say very serious lack of any kind of new product which would generate excitement. So I hope like what we're going to bring in to the table in the next 3 to 4 months, it will get at least buzz going. You know what I mean? Excitement again.
No, that's awesome. I'm very excited to see this new product of yours.
Well, I'm curious. Do you see the same kind of observation where you just see a whole bunch of same old? Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
So I'm big into dirt bikes and stuff, and I've kind of been keeping an eye on the dirt bike scene, the off-road type scene,
like
and
Saran is
the
number one there,
Saran,
right?
yeah,
And
but they all
Teleria
look
is,
so similar. The Teleria and the Saran look exact same. You wouldn't be able to tell a difference between the two. And I've heard good and bad things about them, but they're pricey. They're expensive
yeah,
for what you're getting.
yeah. What? Yeah. What? I can't comment on this right now. We can, but it's good to know that you're into dirt bikes. So, yeah, no, I completely agree with that. But your question was like a batteries and motors. I'll tell you, I think what we have right now, battery wise, we're here for next couple years.
Hmm.
There's a semi-solid state battery, so I'm looking at, right? So not solid state, but semi-solid, solid. There's some stuff people always work, right? We use in a MetaCycle, we use Ferris's pouches, right? Which are like used in Mercedes, and Zero uses them as well. Those are excellent batteries, right? I mean,
Hmm.
there's really, I don't see, I don't see really a much more significant any kind of improvements in cells for mass scale, right? There's always going to be a scientist in lab claiming the next thing in battery space, right? But that's not in a real life. But I would say if somebody's sitting around and saying I'm not going to buy this EV because batteries might get better next year, that's not not
Hmm.
not happening.
Yeah, so there really hasn't been much change going on in the industry right now, other than you're releasing a new bike, obviously. But what are some of the challenges, setbacks, and pain points you've been facing the past 6 to 12 months, and how are you addressing these issues, and what strategies do you believe will be crucial in overcoming them?
Yeah. No, it's I've been on an R&D side past 6 to 12 or 18 months. What I always do, I visit our supply chain in person, and I decide at the floor level on various aspects what our supply chain is going to look for specific product, right? So, but the goal is to visit in person, to have boots on the ground and really determine what are potential pain points, right? And if you feel that like in my case, I no longer work with suppliers where I feel that there could be pain points. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because they will show those red flags very quite easy early on, right? The way they communicate, the way they what their history looks like. So I don't see right now. And if you're asking if there's any shortages on the supply chain side, not that I've seen or experienced. I see actually opposite. I see a lot of extra capacity produced batteries and motors laying around the warehouses.
Definitely. Where do you want to be in 6 to 12 months from now? Because you
Uh,
said the past 6, 12, you've kind of been working on R&D, and what's the next 6 to 12 looking like?
so that would be, going through a production cycle, for the new MetaCycle, and also for the new e-bikes. There's going to be three, but one is going to be released next week. So um, it's just going through your normal process of tooling, production tooling.
Mm-hmm.
Since I said R&D is done, because that takes the longest, right? Tooling usually is it's a data input from what you have created. It's pretty straightforward, so it's more technical than scientific. So that takes about 60 days, and then you do a small batch productions. And one thing, what I'm gonna do right now, moving forward, I'm gonna focus still on very very attractive pricing, but I'm gonna minimize production, especially early on. So people, so we're always able to keep up with customer service.
No, definitely. That makes total sense.
Because the problem
So
is, of course, when we have such attractive pricing, like 10,000 people jump on it, right? And it's tempting, right? It's tempting.
definitely.
Everybody needs business these years, right? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like you want to help your supply chain with orders, right? Because everyone is hurting right now.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. We're in quite the times right now, especially with what's going on between Canada and US, but I don't want to get into that. Let's stay on e-bikes. If you could go back when you started your company, what advice would you give yourself?
Mhm.
That's a good one
You
because you've
know,
had so much experience. I kind of want to know what advice you'd give yourself to be further ahead in your company kind of thing.
I'll tell you, I'm not exactly the best person to ask this question, right? Because I think from like, like perfect example with e-bikes, right? So there were literally no e-bikes around when we started, right? And this was a first kind of like mass produced e-bike where and it was affordable. So think about it, right? When you kind of start a new space, even in Europe, it's been around for, I don't know, forever, right? You
Hmm.
start a new space, like what do you how do you like always think about what I could have done differently or done differently. um I think I would be. I became at some point like a little bit too safe in my approach, because there was like a lot of things were skewed based on employee count. Right now you have responsibilities. Now you take on some kind of head games that you need to make someone else happy working for you. Right. So
Hmm.
there were a lot of opinion. I start to get a lot of opinions. When I create a product, I usually literally go in my office, turn, small light on, and just come up and just really, map it out, right? Where as the business grew, opinions, and a reality, what I would do, as far as advice, I would just tell you one thing: just uh, be more that I would be more comfortable, accepting accepting ideas what I have, even they might not be aligning perfectly with everyone else, as a as as definitely move forward with, right? So because I think that's where I kind of also became a little bit complacent with the business once it runs as a company, right? there's a completely different there's completely different approach you need to take to when you show up versus where you're this, one man operation and you can do it as you please, right? So what I'm saying is like I wish I would have trusted my decisions more than what versus taking everyone else's advice.
No, that makes total sense. And I've listened to a couple podcasts that you've been on, and at the start of your process, you said that you were controlling the whole customer service side of things just by yourself. Can you speak a little
Yeah,
bit more
yeah,
about
yeah.
that? Like that would have been real tough.
That was actually epic. I mean, it was, once we started shipping the first 7,000 bikes from Indiegogo campaign, there's a phone number, and yeah, and I would take all the calls for first couple months, like, for customer service because and I'll tell you, of course, there was a one-man operation. There's not that many e-bike people to begin with, right?
Yeah,
So it's
no one
not
knew
like you
anything
just
about
go.
them.
Yeah, it's not just like go out and hire somebody. Right now, everyone kind of knows what to do, right? So, but I also work on a assembly line regularly when I'm in China just to see the entire process, right? Like when our engineers come there, there's always been, I always work with good guys, there's been Tom Brennan and many cool people. We're always on production line, and like a first 7,000 Indiegogo bikes, I think three of us, two of us from California, one from Chicago, we were pretty much there all the time because, uh, uh, you just notice things which usually you would not notice if just regular workers stay on production lines.
No,
So
definitely. You get to see the
yeah,
whole process.
you
That's
see the whole process, you know what I mean? And nuances of it, right? Because it's the nuances where things can go wrong, right?
yeah.
And yeah, and then once they started to come to getting shipped to new owners, the customer service calls were amazing. And I don't know if the podcast you heard was where I shared the story where dude calls me and I just got bike. It sucks. It's horrible. I was like, what's wrong with it? Yeah. First, you always, that's another thing. You always have to be a therapist, right? Because, if how's that goes? If response is above 5, it's not about the bike, right? It's something else going on in their lives. Yeah, he gets all like up in arms that it's not working. And I was like, "What did you turn it on?" And I explained him where to turn it on, and he's like, "There's no button there, right?" And the button is just kind of like a rubber button, which is, it's there, but you gotta push it through, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, "There's no button," and I was like, "Hey, is there somebody else at the house?" Not being condescending, but genuinely, sometimes that helps, right? So because you might, and his girlfriend gets on a call and it's like, "Hey, you see that gray button there? Can you push that?" I just hear she just pushes, lights go on, right? So, and then the throttle kicks in, and I just hear in the background, guy just hang up. He just hung up. I'm like,
That's funny.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, those were great stories.
No, that's a good experience. Just for you being in the industry and starting out the way you did by yourself, like
Yeah,
you have a lot of insights on the industry, and it's great. And you know your company inside out from checking
yes.
out the assembly line and everything. It's amazing what you're doing.
What,
Um,
and thank you. But what I was going to tell you, this is interesting you brought up because I met Micah from Electric a couple months ago, like November in Italy, right? Where he was at the Electric motorcycle show, a motorcycle show, but there's Electric as well, right?
yeah,
And we just talked about this whole space, how every e-bike company right now, which was built on the fake demand, is out of business. and fake demand being, when everything was on lockdowns.
Hmm.
So and every EV two-wheel motorcycles are also struggling, right? And there's a reason for it, right? It's nothing to do with range, nothing to do with anything else. It just has to do with the wrong pricing, right? It's
Hmm.
like people are not just gonna, if you're an EV person, you know, you're not looking at it as a motorcycle. You're looking at it as a transportation, right? So there's got to be a value given to you, price wise, to do it. But a lot of stuff right now, what we're seeing are very much performance based bikes, which have a very limited uh, end users, because, like you said, those guys prefer to stick with ice.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's what you said there makes total sense with the industry and kind of where it's going. And with what you did, you made a bike that was affordable, that was easy to drive, and anyone, even if you haven't rode motorbikes, you could hop on and you could have a good experience with it. And yeah, like you said, people from California in the warm weather, they just need a piece of transportation they can use all year round. It's cheap, it's easy
Yeah.
to use, and it works. That's the main thing there.
Yeah. And I really, and like I shared with you with MetaCycle, where I'm still dealing with only bad experience I ever had in China, but that was not related like to a traditional, that was not a traditional experience. It was just because we could not visit our supply chain literally for 2 years, right? So everything was done um, virtually. And that was, that's a good example how, look, if you cannot be there and see, might as well slow down a little bit and take time till things clear up. But who knew? We didn't know how long it's gonna last, right? 10 years, 20 years. I mean, it was weird times.
Yeah, it was crazy times, that's for sure. Back to this new MetaCycle. Now that you brought up the MetaCycle again, back to the new one. Are you doing a big launch for the new bike, or just
So
a release on the website? Kind of what's your thoughts for the launch?
yeah, so the 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 MetaCycle, we're gonna call it Meta Beast, a
Meta
bike
Beast.
itself, but it's under the MetaCycle brand. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do anything except direct online, direct to consumer. Only thing what we're gonna do this time, we'll take reservations, but we're not gonna take any deposits or anything like that, which was quite popular a couple of years ago, uh,
Hmm.
because because we're moving to that inventory business model, right? So you pay us only when we have it in stock,
In
because
stock. Yeah.
yeah, because right now, that was the one thing what I also learned during these crazy times, that like, exactly a good example where we live right now today, right? So at least in US, right? So one day there's tariffs, next day they're postponed.
Yeah.
So it's a really a mental game, right? And as a manufacturer, right? I mean, your e-bike, your motorcycle has hundreds of components, right? So it's not just a motor, right? Motor has a couple hundred suppliers for every part to begin with. and
Hmm.
and um and I would say with this, a very unpredictable environment, you really don't want to take on any chances, because I mean, we also got burned humongously during the COVID, where we pre-sold our e-bikes, and also, at the point of sale, customers paid for shipping, right? So and when we did that, our container costs were like $3,000 from Shanghai to Long Beach. And by the time we got to ship customers, that was 30,000 per
Mm.
container, 10 times more, right?
Yeah, that's
9 months
terrible.
later.
That's crazy. We-
So
uh,
and we ate all that shipping costs, couple $100,000, because you
yeah.
can't now you can't go back and say, hey, we did this. So with unpredictability, there's going to be significantly more limited sales based on a fact that no one's gonna get excited about overproducing something and piling up the warehouse.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that you're looking into that. I I have no other questions for you. You've answered everything that I've been looking for. It was thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to share your insights and experience with our listeners. Your expertise on e-bike industry has been incredible, valuable, and I'm sure our audience have learned a lot. Um, I hope you'll come back again. Maybe we can speak again once you do the launch of the Meta Beast. And it was great having you on here. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Corson. That was fun.
Yeah,
Talk
no worries.
soon.